Okay, it's the preseason, still it's preseason preparation. Pickard panic. Hey, Panic. That was a guy the Leafs got on waivers, and he was useful for a while. Then he was part of a terrible trade, but he has since been replaced. No one is looking at this Leafs roster going, my heavens, if they only had Richard Panic. Another guy claimed off waivers? Curtis McELHINNey by the Toronto Maple Leafs. Remember, once upon a time, a couple years ago, the Columbus Blue Jackets put McELHINey on waivers, and the Leafs said, hey, he might be better than Jonas Enroth, and they took him. Who would have thought that 2 years later, we'd be crapping our pants at his absence? The Toronto Maple Leafs have lost both of Curtis McELHINey and Calvin Pickard to waivers. McELHINey has been claimed by the Carolina Hurricanes. Pickard has been claimed by the Philadelphia Flyers. And unfortunately, both teams need a goalie right now. The second I saw Scott Darling was going to be out for a few weeks with injury, I'm like, yep, one of them's gone. The Flyers battled a series of injuries to their goalies throughout the preseason, so they take Calvin Pickard. Now, with the Leafs these days, almost no move is as it seems at face value. Because 3 guys in Leafs management, at least, Kyle Dubas, Lawrence Gilman, new assistant general manager, and Brandon Pridham, new sort of assistant general manager, they all took capology at Hogwarts, right between Transfiguration and Defense Against the Dock Hots. And they're always pulling random nonsense that someone eventually has to explain. So let's look at the bad, which is obvious, and the good, which may be a little hidden. The bad? The Leafs lose 2 assets for nothing. Almost any time you lose any player for nothing, it's bad. Now, there are excusable instances. You keep a guy for a playoff run, alright, sometimes you can excuse that. Sometimes you let a prospect walk, alright, that happens all the time. But the Leafs lose Curtis McELHINey, who was an excellent backup for them last season, and Calvin Pickard, who they gave up assets for last season for nothing. Connor Carrick, you can be disappointed with the return, but at least they got something. And just stating the obvious, if the Leafs suffer an injury in net, if Freddie Anderson or Garrett Sparks go down long term, that's a problem. So many teams in the NHL, even en route to a Stanley Cup, need to rely on their third goalie. And it's not out of the ordinary for a third goalie to turn into a backup or even a starter down the line. Throughout the summer and preseason, Dubas brought up Kasimir Kaskisuo a lot, and now I think maybe we know why. Kaskisuo, I mean, some hardcore Leaf fans might know, he played a few games for the Marlies, but last season he actually played for the Chicago Wolves, Vegas's farm team, because he was loaned there. And he put up decent numbers there. He was like right on par with some of Vegas's goalies that ended up playing in the NHL out of necessity. But in the NHL, he's a complete unknown. So hey, Dubas brought in John Tavares this offseason, and it's wonderful and it's great. What have you done for me lately? What about the net? I'm scared. To that I would say this, there's goalies available, granted not great ones because no one signed them, but there are goalies available you can sign. A few people have mentioned Justin Peters, who the Marlies have in camp on a tryout. There are guys who are available who could be made available for the cheap. Steve Mason, Kari Lehtinen. How amazing would it be if Mason got signed to the Leafs and was good after the Leafs basically torched him in Game 1 last season? Now, I don't think any of those are great options, but they're there. And if I'm not mistaken, you don't have to worry about waiver shenaniganery. If someone gets hurt, then you can just sign them, they fill that spot, then you throw them on waivers, and whatever happens, happens. It's also not like this is the last time goalies will be put on waivers. Which transition, here's the thing that I think a lot of people don't realize. Should McELHINey or Pickard be re-waived later on, possible, as both are filling in for injured goalies on their new teams, and the Leafs end up successfully claiming either, they can be assigned straight to the Marlies. Toronto did this with Seth Griffin back in 2015-16. And that's not unrealistic at all. Not only has this happened before, but it's happened to the Leafs in recent memory. So, will Philadelphia make Pickard available after a month or so? Who knows? But here's what could actually be a likely scenario. The Carolina Hurricanes have both Scott Darling and Peter Mrazek. Mrazek makes $1.5 million against the cap, and Scott Darling makes several times that. It looks like Darling is going to be out for a few weeks to a month with an injury. In the meantime, Mrazek and McELHINey split the net. Exactly how they split it, I don't know. Once Darling comes back from injury, McELHINey is placed on waivers. With any luck, the Marlies can reclaim him, put him back down on the Marlies, and everyone's happy. Carolina got what they needed for a little while, and the Leafs get a nice little cushion behind Garrett Sparks should things go awry. Heck, if this happens, if both the Flyers and Hurricanes waive McElhinney and Pickard within the month, which isn't even that unlikely, the Leafs will have basically made the Hurricanes and Flyers, in some ways, their farm team, because it almost looks like this was done on purpose. Then there's the angry crowd that I understand. Well, alright, whatever, they got claimed on waivers. What did you want them to do? I didn't want them to get claimed off waivers for nothing. Video games screw everything up because you look at players and you go, just trade them! Yeah, just trade them like that. The Leafs were about to put Connor Carrick on waivers yesterday, but they didn't because Dallas wanted him bad enough that they got something for him. With McElhinney and Pickard, that didn't happen. Also a bit of a different scenario. Obviously, the Leafs had to send 2 guys down. If you're Philly, you don't bother giving anything up for Pickard because you look at Carolina and go, alright, they're going to claim one guy, we'll claim the other. But unless McElhinney or Pickard completely blow their teams away, they're probably going to end up back on waivers. And if they don't, someone will. Well, what if that someone's bad, you might ask? And to that I would say, look at McElhinney before he was a Leaf. He was a .924 in 7 games with Columbus, which is really good. Fell to a .914 with the Leafs, which is decent, not amazing, but he did stop Crosby that one time. .890 the year before, which is bad. .914, which is decent, and .909, which is meh. But ultimately, in his mid-30s, we were all looking at him going, okay, let's try it. And it worked out better than I think anyone could have imagined. Pickard, I'm disappointed because, man, I just feel like we didn't even get to see him. I thought that guy was going to play NHL games. He got 1. I thought he'd be an amazing goalie in the American Hockey League, and he was, but Garrett Sparks was amazinger, so he was the backup. So, ultimately, not a good thing the Leafs lost 2 guys for free. What if Freddie goes down with a bad injury? Well, consider this. Over the past 2 seasons, McElhinney has played under 40 games. Garrett Sparks has played over 70. McElhinney's played 40 or more games just 3 times in his entire career. And the last one was over half a decade ago. If the Leafs need a temporary starter, it's worth it to give Sparks the shot. And though they lost 2 guys for free, in theory, the Leafs could sign a guy or 2 for free. And within a month, the Leafs could get 1 or both of McElhinney or Pickard back for free. Right now, I don't think Dubas and the Leafs management look that good because they've left them a little bit vulnerable. They get them both back, or if Sparks plays amazing, he looks like a genius. It's not as fun as overreacting on the spot, but this is kind of a wait-and-see move. So right now, that's kind of it for the conversation. So that is it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. A couple links down below to some merch and my book. Tell all your friends that the season starts tomorrow.